अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we'll start right on time. Thank you so much for joining this workshop on emotional intelligence. My name is Usman Mazhar, and I am a personal development coach and also an HR professional. And we'll be conducting this workshop in a period of 1 hour approximately. And we'll try to touch upon some of the definitions and explanations of this topic, a very important topic indeed. And I've written here, developing people skills. This is a special statement that I've written here because we talk a lot about functional skills, we talk a lot about technical skills, and we talk a lot about the abilities and capabilities that we have as functional managers. But we talk very less about what it means to have people skills and good people skills. People skills is not only people management, but it is also how we manage their emotions and our own emotions as well. And that is what the presentation today is all about. So I will start with a small story, which is related to myself when I did not know much about this topic, the emotional intelligence. So I had a manager who was reporting to me, and he was a very diligent manager working on different projects, and the timelines were coming very close. But due to some reason, due to an emergency, his one of his parents got sick and had to be admitted to the hospital, unfortunately. So for 4 days, that person had to be at the hospital. And at that time, my projects were getting delayed. I was under pressure. I had a lot of timelines to meet. We were closing into the year end. And at that time, I remember that I called that person up, and that person was at the hospital at that time with his parent. And I asked him about the condition of his parent. And of course, I also asked him that how are the projects going, or when can we expect that the closure for those projects? And when can we expect the deadlines to be met, because I have to be reporting these deadlines to the management. So at that time, I put down the phone and I did not think much about that question. But later on, when that person left the organization, he quoted this incident as one of the major reasons why that person got demotivated and really felt disengaged with the job. And that was an awakening call for me also. So I had a conversation with that person while he was leaving. And he told me that phone call that I made to him at that time when he was at the hospital he felt that it was not very considerate enough, and that it had a negative impact on that person. For me, it was not a big deal because I was just asking about a project, and I also asked about the parent. I did not ask the person to come to the office. But that is when I started studying about this topic, and I took a training and also started going deeper into what people think and how people behave in the organizations and what really engages them. So most of you might have heard about different terms in the companies like engagement, like motivation and culture, and connecting people with the work. But what is that secret success, or what is that secret tip that really connects people and engage people with the organization? You will see a lot of people who will leave the good organizations who pay very well. But you'll see also, on the other hand, a lot of people who will stick to organizations, don't pay very well, but they will stick with them and they will love to work for those organizations and sacrifice for those organizations. What is the reason behind that? What connects an employee with that organization, even if the pay is low? Is it the salary, the benefits, the gifts that we give to the employees that connect them with the organization, or with us, or is it something else? What we are going to try to touch upon. And please also remember the story, that this short thing that my experience that I shared with you, and share your experiences as well as we move forward. So without further wait, we can move forward with emotional intelligence at the workplace. And let's look at the ground rules also. Of course, the timing, we have started right on time, and try to finish it in 45-50 minutes. In brief time, we will try to explain what emotional intelligence is and try to touch upon this complex topic otherwise, and try to make it as simple as possible for you. Also, keep your mobile phones off, or any other devices that you might have around you that might distract you. If you have any questions, you can write in the chat box. And of course, I'll try to answer them as effectively as possible. I'll also open the WhatsApp group. If you're on the WhatsApp group, you can join that. And then you can post your questions there as well after the workshop as well, so that I could get back to you on that. Take notes. I emphasized on that in the group as well, and I'm asking you, requesting again, that you should have a notepad or a pen with you, because I would really like you to take some notes, because there will be a lot of self-reflection in this workshop for you to think about yourself and things that you would like to note down. And also the technology side. So, I mean, we have tried to make sure that everything is working fine. We have good internet connection, and Zoom is also working fine. But, you know, if you have experience with Zoom, it can sometimes, you know, create issues. So we will have some polls. If the poll does not launch, or if something doesn't work out, don't panic. We'll try to, work through that. So, so do excuse me for the technology, any shortcomings on that side that we might face. Okay, so if you move forward, the personal effectiveness. I would like you to chat and to type in the chat box, what is the secret to effectiveness? If you can think of any person, political, social, or business personality, and a successful person, what are the 3 distinguishing characteristics that come to your mind about that person, which makes them special or successful? So you can share your responses in the chat window, and you don't need to name that person. So if you can share those, if you share your responses. So if you, I mean, what are the 3 things that come to your mind? Commitment, yes. So we have a response which says commitment, expert communicator, personal credibility, okay? And if you have more comments, manages his time in a proper way, time management, good listener, kindness, empathy, organizing and planning, and concern for people is at the core. So they are concerned about the people that they're working with. They are proactive, and they are good time managers. So you see, most of these comments which are coming here are related to the characteristics of the personality: results, responsibility, looking at the big picture, trust, genuinely interested in others. The amazing thing is that you don't see an organizing and planning. Thank you so much. So you see here, you don't see any characteristic which is more related to the functional expertise. Like, nobody is saying that that person should be an excellent finance manager, or an excellent HR manager, or an excellent engineer, or a scientist, or professional. It is all to do with the personal characteristics that they have. How good of them are they as communicators? How well are they in organizing and planning themselves? You know, how well are they genuinely interested in others, and how much do they care about others? And how do they work under pressure also? How do they behave under pressure? That is an important thing. They are honest, they show empathy, and they have truthfulness, or they are team players. Yes, thank you so much for this, for participating. And all these characteristics are related to the person's personality. It's not related to your function. How good of you as a manager, you might be a good teacher, you might be a good doctor, you might be a good scientist, you might be a good engineer, but a good manager. But it's all have to do with the characteristics. And these are the things which have been stamped in our mind, that the things that we remember about the people who have touched our lives, who we think are successful people, who are effective people, whether it's on the religion side, whether it's on the business side, or whether it's on the political side. It's always the personal characteristics which distinguishes a person. So thank you so much for participating in this, and keep this in mind, and also write it down, that these are the characteristics which are important for a person when we remember them, when they're successful, and we think that they're effective. So now I have a small assessment, but before we start the assessment, I'll go through these statements that are written here. And I'd like us to take this assessment, and I'll launch the polls for that. Number 1 is, do you rush to judgment before you know all of the facts? So before I get to know all of the facts, do I run to judgments? Do I misjudge people? Do I make negative assumptions about people? And you know, do I have my stereotypical thinking that I have in my mind, and I don't get to the facts and just try to judge people? Do you seek attention for your accomplishments? So are you an accomplished? I mean, when you accomplish something, do you always want to be rewarded, or do you want attention that is always there? It's not about the teamwork, it's more about me, that what I'm accomplishing. Do you become upset every time there's a delay, or something doesn't happen the way you want? This is something that we face usually in our lives, and this is not something only that you can face in the work life. It is also something that you can face in the private life as well. So if things don't go the way you want them to go, how do we behave? Are we patient, or are we more reactive? Do you avoid the person whose feelings you have hurt instead of apologizing to them? So I know I've hurted somebody. I know that I have not been nice to somebody. So do I apologize to them, or do I try to avoid them, thinking that it will go away itself? Do you examine how your actions will affect others before you take those actions? So do I really think that the action that I'm about to take, the word that I'm about to say, how it's going to affect others? So I'm going to launch a poll here, and I would like you to rate yourself on these 5 questions on a scale of 1 to 5, So, and I'll give you 2 minutes to fill this up. And also in the second question is that where would you like to see yourself on a scale of 1 to 5? So if you see yourself today at 4, and so you would like to go to 5, or if you see yourself at a lower number, you would like to go to a higher number. So I'm launching the poll right now, and I hope that everybody sees that poll as well. Okay, so if you can vote, and I hope everybody can see the vote, can see the polls. So we'll keep this open for around 2 minutes. For these 5 statements, where do you see yourself currently? And where would you like to see yourself as we move forward in the future? So we're getting the responses. And for those of you who have joined recently, you can also participate in the poll. And if you're not able to see the poll for some reason, because that happens with this technology, so please write it down in your notebook, and also note it down even if you're voting right now, that where am I right now and where will I like to see myself? So we still have some people who have to who can vote, and again, write it down in your notebook, your answer to both questions. Okay, 70% people have voted. %. So I'll just keep it open for some more time, few seconds, so we can then close it. If you have not voted yet, you can put in your vote and do write down your reply in your notebook. Okay, so let me end the poll right now. It's okay, we still have people who are voting. So I'm ending the poll now because it's been more than 2 minutes. So I'm sharing the results with you. I hope all of you can see the screen. That most of the people, majority of the people see themselves at the neutral side, and some of the people even see themselves at 4. And most of the people see themselves as neutral. So when we look at the answers that where would they like to see themselves, of course, majority would like to see themselves at highly satisfied. So there's always a room for improvement for everybody in all areas, and it's about being self-aware. And self-awareness is the key to emotional intelligence, as we will study as we go forward also. So I'm stopping to share the results. I hope you have all written down the results. Now, the important thing is that I would like you to share with me as well here is why is this important? Take notes and why is this important to improve? Even if you are at 3, why would you like to go to 5? Even if you are at 4, why would you like to go to 5? You can write in the chat box as well, if you like, or you can take it down in your notes as well. Why is it important for us to improve on these things, on these things that we have mentioned here? Okay, so we can move forward. So remember these 5 statements, write down the scores that you gave yourself and also the score that you would like to reach. And why is this important for us? And not only in our professional, but even in our personal lives. So let's move forward. Now try to define emotions or in intelligence. What do you think? Are emotions a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, being emotional, is it a negative thing or a positive thing? I would like to know if you could write in your chat box. Being emotional, Is it a negative thing or a positive thing? So if you can write in your chat box. And emotions are a conscious mental reaction. That is how it is defined, such as anger or fear. And it creates a psychological and behavioral change in the body, emotions, due to one or the other trigger point that we might have, right? And what is intelligence? Intelligence is also the ability to learn or to understand, deal with a new trying situation. So how do I adapt to the new situation? How do I adapt to the change? Do I learn new things effectively? That is intelligence. And intelligence is also knowing myself and how do I behave and how do I react to certain things. If I ask this question, when I ask this question, that being emotional, is it a good or a bad thing? Uh, let me answer it for you. And when you talk to people, and when I was talking to one of the consultants about this, so of course, being emotional is a good thing, because emotion is a God-gifted thing that is given to us. What kind of a person would be a person who never gets angry? Or what kind of a person is a person who would never get happy or delighted? But it is about how we use those emotions. That is the most important part, how we channelize the energy those emotions produce for us, that we can um, go and we can use it in a more positive way. Okay, so intelligence is the ability to learn, right? So remember that being emotional is not a bad thing. Being emotional is a good thing. It is a positive thing, but it is how we use those emotions, which is the important thing, right? Now, to define the emotional intelligence, as you might have already guessed, is aware of and being control of express one's emotions. So how well am I aware of my own emotions? How well am I able to express those emotions? And how well am I able to use those emotions? That is the important thing. EQ is the intelligent use of emotions. So how intelligently do I use my emotions? What do I mean by that? If I get angry, do I use that energy more productively, more creatively, or do I use that energy to destroy or to hurt the people who are in front of me, who might not be even responsible for that result? And similarly, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your emotions, being self-aware, how emotions affect people and the perception of others that they might have about you. So when you understand how they feel, this allows you to manage relationships more effectively. So emotional intelligence is much more than just controlling your emotions, just managing your emotions. It is a lot more about knowing other people as well. How would they behave? Knowing yourself, how would I behave in a certain way? And knowing the whole environment around you, that how the environment can be utilized in a way that is more positive and more productive. So emotional intelligence circles around all these things. So let us move forward. If you have any questions, you can always ask. Okay, and individual success, the importance of emotional intelligence. In individual success at work is about 80% of emotional intelligence. That is according to Daniel Goldman, who is an author and a psychologist and has written a book on emotional intelligence as well. And 20% is dependent on IQ. I remember that in my HR profession, when I've been working with HR, so I come across different people. So I went to one of these senior executives, and I remember that his project was getting very late. People were very tired. They were working day and night, and they were not getting the results that they wanted. So we asked him that we think that your people are not engaged. Your people are not, motivated, and they're not producing the results they should, or they're bringing the ideas that they should be. So I remember that person telling me that my people are very engaged. So we asked them, how do you think they're engaged? And the answer that I got was amazing. That the person told me that, uh, my people, or one of my people, have emergencies at home, have urgencies at home and family, but they yet don't tell me about it, and they leave those emergencies at home and they still come to work. And that was something that really opened up my eyes, that if my people are not getting back to me, are not sharing their problems with me, or not sharing with me their challenges that they are facing, and are scared enough to just come to work all the time, and regardless of what is the situation back at home, then how can I have a mentally stable person working for me at that time in the organization, and be more productive and output? So that is also the essence of emotional intelligence: reading and interpreting and understanding the body language, the words, the attitude and of the people. And that is why, according to Daniel Goldman, 80% of individual success, not only as a professional, but also on the personal level, is dependent on how emotionally intelligent we are. As individual contributors, as professionals, we can grow in our careers and we grow in our lives. And as we grow, more and more people become dependent on us, whether it is the colleagues that we have or whether it is the family that we have at home. More and more people become dependent on us. And if we want to be an effective leader, if we want to be a successful person, then more than the functional knowledge that we have, it is the emotional intelligence or the emotional knowledge about ourselves and the others that will make us successful. And that is also the research shows. It does not mean that you give a cook an engineer's job and you give an engineer a cook's job. Nobody is saying that. You need to have the functional expertise, and that of course will get you the job, but that of course will get you the role that you have. But you must have the emotional side of it, the behavioral side of it, which will make you separate from others or will be your distinguishing characteristic, right? Understanding your emotions, controlling them, and understanding the people's might be the most important asset right now. And if you move forward, you see, brains alone don't make a leader. So this research shows that leadership jobs require around 83% of emotional intelligence is important in a leadership job. The role of a leader is to manage the people in the best way who have higher IQs. So you can also think about projects at your workplaces or your experiences. How many times it is a human element that works towards the success of the project, and how many times it is just the functional element that works towards the success of the project. If you have any comments, you can of course share in the chat room. That in your experiences and in your projects that you have seen, is it the human element that really works for the success, or is it the functional element that we see and it works for the success of the projects? Most of the time that we have seen, and in my career also, in my professional life also, it is the human element that works. It is connecting with people. It is about knowing people. And that is important. It is about how well am I as a communicator? How well am I as a person who can get to people and talk to them in the language that they will understand? Knowing the people, knowing the temperature of my people and the organization that I'm with, or the entity that I'm associated with, that is the important part that leadership jobs require most of EQ. And as I said, as I told you in the story before as well, that the person thought that if his people are coming back to him and telling him that there are emergencies at work, they think that they're engaged. It is not the engagement. It is about trust and fairness that the people feel. And people are willing to double their work, double their output, and give the best that they can for people who give them respect, for the people who have shown excellent behavior, for people who show them understanding for what they feel and how they feel. All right. So if you have any comments, you can always share. Otherwise, I'll move forward. Now, if you want to understand emotional intelligence, to manage emotional intelligence, the best and the groundwork that has been done in this field is by an author and a psychologist, Daniel Goldman, who has written this book, Emotional Intelligence, in 1995, and then wrote another book on it in 1998. In this book, he talks about 5 elements that I will try to summarize here, in which the emotional intelligence can be managed or emotional intelligence can be developed. Now, remember that there is no training. There is no button that you can turn on to be more emotionally intelligent. It is all about practice, 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 and continuously looking at yourself and then being aware of yourself. So the first thing is the self-awareness. Self-awareness being one of the most important pillars of emotional intelligence. Self-awareness means that how well aware am I of myself? Somebody told me explaining self-awareness that it is how well the ability to hear and see yourself correctly. It is, do I want to see myself and hear myself the way I want to? Or do I see myself and hear myself the way people see me or hear me? That is the most important thing. Am I open to feedback? Am I open to listening to others about my behavior, about my attitude, about my impulses, and about how I behave under certain situations? Am I aware of myself and I look at myself that when I acted in a certain way, why did I act it in that certain way, and why, and how could I have made it better? And if I did something better, how could I make it more better? So that is being self-aware of yourself, that understanding your own emotions and understanding your own weak points and your strengths and using them and channelizing them in the best way. So it is about seeing yourself and hearing yourself correctly and the way people look at you when you stand in front of the mirror. Number 2 is self-regulation. What is self-regulation? Self-regulation is about how I manage my emotions. Managing my emotions is very important. I know I've got angry. Now, how will I react? And how should I react? That is important. People don't generally, it takes some courage. It takes some time to sit down and really think about yourself, that if I got angry right now, whether it's with my family or whether it's at work, how did I react it? Did I react it in the right way? Was that the right way? And that's self-awareness. And self-regulation is, how am I going to react in future? What is different that I can do? Do I Am I impulsive? Am I judgmental? Am I I make hasty decisions? Or should I be more patient and take some time to think about regulating my emotions and not be more impulsive? So the third thing is social awareness or empathy. And according to Daniel Goldman, this is also one of the most important uh, sides of emotional intelligence, about how others feel. As I read somewhere, empathy or social awareness is that when you look at somebody, you see your own image reflected to yourself. That means that if I say something, then how would I feel about it myself? If I do something, how would that make me feel? What will be the effect of this action on myself? How will I behave, or how will I feel if I'm under the same kind of situation? So basically putting yourself into the shoes of others and understanding them. And that will only happen if you know the people, if you understand the people, what motivates them, what is positive, and what is something that doesn't make them motivates them. So social awareness is more about empathy, and it's about knowing people, and it's about how and what they will make, how they will feel under certain situations. Similarly, social skills or relationship management. Social skills or relationship management is about how well am I able to manage my relationships? How well am I able to use the emotions of others for more productivity of my work? So a person with good relationships can make things happen, can make things work. And this is also important. That will only happen if I bring down the frequency of my emotions to the frequency of others. And I try to connect with them at that level, how they feel about something, and speak to them in their language that they will understand, and not try to impose my language upon them. And that is relationship building or relationship management. And that is productive for any project that you're doing, because relationships matter at workplace, or even it is at your private life. Number 5 is motivation. How motivated am I to do for success of the others? It is not only the motivation for my own success, but do I feel happy when I see others successful? Do I sacrifice my short-term gains for the long-term success of my team? So an emotionally intelligent person is motivated to perform, is happy to see others perform, is not jealous, is not envious, and does not have negative assumptions about people, and is motivated to teach, is motivated to see others successful. So these are the 5 things that we have. Self-awareness, number 1, being aware of yourself, listening and hearing yourself correctly. Number 2, self-regulation. How well are you managing yourself? Social awareness, empathy. You put yourself in their shoes and then understand that how would they feel. Social skills and relationship management, knowing the temperature of the room, understanding the emotions of all others, and trying to build relationships on that. And motivation, being motivated to perform. So if you have any questions, we can, of course, answer those questions here. Otherwise, we can move forward. And here again, I have a poll for you. Can you think of at least one or multiple emotional intelligence elements which can further support your growth professionally and personally? So self-awareness, you remember, it's about knowing myself. Self-regulation is managing my emotions. Empathy, knowing others. Social skills, building relationships, and motivation. So I'm going to launch a poll here, and I would like you to participate in that poll. And and you participate in this poll and let me know that in which areas do you think you can further improve. If you can see the poll, and please write it down as well. So we have 30% response. We have a question. The person, Swade, is asking that how do we improve on these dimensions? So we're going to touch about it a little bit after this slide. And some yes, having emotions is a good thing, and how we express and feel about ourselves. So 80% have voted. And write it down in your note as well. So I'm going to close it in now 10 to 20 seconds. Just write down the response in your notebook as well. So somebody has asked that which tools can we use to measure ourselves against these 5 elements of EQ? That's a good question, Bilal. And I will talk about it at the end as well. There are several surveys that you can do, and I can talk about it on the WhatsApp group as well and share some links. And you can, you can also go on the internet and do those surveys to measure yourself against these 5 elements, because these are the 5 elements basically which are used. Okay, so I'm ending the poll now, and let us see the results. So if you all can see the results, most of the people have said self-regulation or self-management or regulation, right? And the other higher part is the relationship management or social skills. Okay, thank you so much for participating. So I hope you have written this down as well in your notes, that what is it that you would like yourself to see improved in. Self-regulation is a very important part, no doubt about it, that what we have highlighted here as well. And relationship management is also very, very important. And we see this lacking in our corporate environment also, and also in our personal lives as well. And self-regulation takes a lot of practice, and it can be done very easily. It can be done, but it takes practice. So let us talk about emotional intelligence, how it acts in our mind and how it is connected to our brain. And I've tried to make this as simple as possible by putting the picture of human brain here as well. And human brain has different sections, but I'm trying to highlight here 2 parts. Number 1 is the amygdala. The amygdala is the emotional side of the brain. Any information that comes to your brain is first goes to amygdala, which is the emotional side of the brain. It is like a security guard which takes an information and perceives it as a threat or as a reward and acts accordingly, right? And acts accordingly. Similarly, the other part is the prefrontal cortex, which is in yellow here, which is the front part of your brain, which is the conscious side of the brain, or the logical thinking. So any information that comes into your mind first goes to amygdala, and then it goes to the logical side. But if amygdala, or at that part of the brain, the emotional side of the brain, acts on it immediately, then the logical side of the brain is off. So if you go and study about this, you will see that these 2 things cannot be on at the same time. So the logical side of the brain will be off if the emotional side is on. So the trick is that I'm able to utilize this passing of information between the emotional side and the logical side in the best way. And emotions are the triggers to habits also. What do we mean by habits? Habits are, how do I react? How do I act when I am emotional? For example, if I'm angry, I could be quiet, I could be sitting patiently, or it could also mean that I'm screaming, or am I shouting, or I'm breaking stuff. And if I'm very happy, then also at that same time, I could be acting in a way that is not appropriate. So it is whether it is a positive emotion or whether it is a negative emotion, whether you're very angry, you're very happy, the emotional side will make you react in a way that that might not be very logical. So the habits then results into actions and results. And those actions and results, of course, can be either positive or can be negative. So if I'm getting angry and shouting at people, of course, the results will not be very positive. But if I'm getting angry and I'm patient and I'm quiet and I'm thinking about what can be done better, then that will be, of course, positive. And that brings us to the point that it takes around 10 to 15 seconds for this information to pass from the emotional to the logical side of the brain. And if we can manage these 10 to 15 seconds, we can, turn on the logical side of the brain and be less reactive to our emotions. So don't make any decisions while you're angry, and don't make any promise while you're happy. That is also an important part, that be in control of your emotions. Understand that it takes around 10 to 15 seconds for emotions to peak. And if we can control our emotions within those 10 to 15 seconds time, it goes into the logical side of the brain. Otherwise, the logical side will be off, and you'll be just thinking from the emotional side, and we'll be reacting in a way that we might not be very happy about later. So if you have any comments or questions about this, I can always take it. Otherwise, we can move forward. Okay. So remember that emotions trigger habits, and habits are something that come from the subconscious mind, and they just happen. Because if I get angry, I'll react in a certain way. But my ability to control myself at that point, as I said, 10 to 15 seconds, is what makes me an emotionally intelligent person as well when it comes to social, especially when it comes to self-awareness. So self-reflection, can you think of at least one or multiple habits driven by emotions which you see in yourself, uh, which if changed can help in your growth? So write down in your notes, or you can also share in the chat window. So I'll try to see if we have any comments in the chat window. So can you think of at least one or multiple habits? You don't have to share it here in the chat window if you don't want to, but you can write it in your notes that everybody has some habits when they get emotional, whether it's very happy or when they are very angry. And I would like you to write down those that habit in your notebook, and so that we have our notes and we understand, we are self-aware also that how do we react in certain situations. Okay, so if we have comments here, otherwise we can move forward. If you have any questions, so anger management, of course, somebody has said here, anger management, yes. But habit means how will I react to my emotions? How will I react means you will see some people who get angry and they just sit down and they are quiet and they're patient. You see some people who get angry, they're shouting and they're screaming. I'm not very empathetic, and I believe if I formed better relationships, I would do better. Yes, that is a self-awareness thing, and thank you so much for sharing your comments here. So let's move forward. And I would like to ask you, how will you feel if this habit is changed? The habit that we have talked about. How will you feel if this habit is changed? That you have written down in your notes. Everybody has habits, and those habits are something is the first step towards self-awareness. And how important it is for you to change the habit. Again, you can write it down in your notes. And like somebody has said, I'll yell probably. Yes, and a lot of people do that. I mean, I'm still trying to manage my myself, make myself more self-aware about the anger things and getting frustrated. But self-awareness is the first step. If I know, if I yell, if I know, if I can become judgmental, then I need to sit down and think that how will I react differently? How will I act differently next time when this happens? And yes, it might not happen in the next time also that I'm able to improve myself, but it will take practice, continuous practice and follow up. And how important it is for you to change this habit. So just write it down as well. And you can write it down in your notes, or you can share it here as well. Okay. Now, what we have understood about emotional intelligence, the elements of the emotional intelligence, that 5 elements of the emotional intelligence about knowing yourself and regulating yourself and knowing others as well. Then again, the importance of the emotional intelligence for success in any organization that you go, careers, in your work life, in your personal life. Any leader of the family is also more approachable when it is easy to talk to them. But if a leader of the family is always angry, is always yelling, it is very difficult to reach out to them. So managing ourselves and our emotions is an effective part of leadership. And in order for us to be good leaders at home or at work or anywhere else or in society, it is very important that we have good emotional intelligence and we are able to manage our emotions in the best way. That is why I've mentioned here some spiritual perspective also, the Islamic perspective of emotional intelligence. Even if you read the Quran and you look at the Hadith, you see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about restraining your anger at a number of times in the Quran. And he also mentions that avoid negative assumptions. Now, negative assumptions is all about empathy, is all about social awareness, thinking negative about people. And if we have positive thoughts about people, we will be, in a positive way, we will be interacting with people. And we will think positive about them, and we will get positive results out of them. Similarly, as the Prophet ﷺ also said, that if you're angry, just say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, or I seek refuge with Allah from shaitan. Why? What does this do? Remember the 10 to 15 seconds delay in the brain? If you say this, it will bring that 10 to 15 seconds delay in your brain, and your emotional side will switch the information to the logical side, and you will be able to think better. Similarly, he said that if you get angry, sit down or lie down. Why is that? Also, again, 10 to 15 seconds delay. Anything that you can do for those 10 to 15 seconds when your emotions are there, peaking at their reaction, to put them into the logical sense, take a sip of water, lie down, sit down, walk away, just be quiet, and you will see that your logical side will turn on. Try this, experiment this, and it will work well, and it will work excellently well. So emotional intelligence, in the words of Daniel Goldman, the person who has done a lot of research on this. When we say the rules of work are changing, we are being judged by new yardstick, not just by how smart we are or by our training and expertise, but also by how well we handle ourselves and each other. That is the important thing that we mention here. That how well are we managing ourselves? Okay, so now when it comes to self-reflection, please. Can emotions be controlled and channeled positively? I would like you to tell me in the chat room. That is what we have studied so far and read and discussed. Can I drop the unwanted habits and pick up new and strong habits? What do people think? If you can share. So if you can share in the chat room that how do people, do you think that emotions can be controlled positively, and can I drop the unwanted habits? And of course, the answer would be an overwhelming yes, that we can do that. And that is what we have seen in our presentation also, that emotions can be controlled and channeled positively. And we can drop the unwanted habits and pick up new and strong habits. And that is the answer, the yes. So how do I start my journey with this also? So somebody was asking that, how do I assess myself on emotional intelligence? And how do I start this journey for emotional intelligence? So for that, I would like you to take you to the next steps, which is to get to know where you are. In order for us to get to a destination, it is very important for us to know that where we currently are. So here we have given a brief survey that you can go to this website or web page, or you can use this QR code to scan and go to this link. It will take it will take less than a minute or maybe 2 minutes to fill this survey, and it will tell you that where you are right now. And then we can have a one-on-one discussion on this as well. And if you complete this assessment, and you can start the journey towards higher emotional intelligence. It will be a gift from us to you, from us to you, that if you want to start your journey of emotional intelligence, you can go and fill this form. And based on this form, we can discuss further. Remember that emotional intelligence, or any habit that I want to change, that I need to change, depends solely on my continuous practice and getting to know myself. So this is the first step. And if you go to this link, and I'll share this link in the WhatsApp as well, you can fill this form, and then we can have a discussion on this. If you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, I can move to my next slide. So in the end, I would just like to say thank you for joining. And also, what was most useful for you? If you can share with me in the chat window, that what was most useful for you in this presentation. And so I would know that how to make this better. And the QR code is also given on the left side of the screen with the link. You can go in there in that survey, and you can briefly fill that survey, and we can get in touch with you on this as well. So what was most useful for you? Okay, so it's a good reminder. The 5 factors mentioned by Daniel Goldman. Yes, definitely. That is a very important part. Somebody said very rightly that it requires willingness as well. Hisham, you can join the WhatsApp group. My number is given here. If you can message me on WhatsApp, then I'll add you to the WhatsApp group. If you want to join, anybody who wants to join the WhatsApp group is not in the WhatsApp group right now. You have my number here on the screen on the right side, and you can just message me privately, and I'll add you to the group, no problem. And mind parts, pictures, explanation of emotions and habits. The first 5 factors. Okay. So that's great. And I would really like to thank you all for joining. Also, if you have any questions, just expertise is not the most important criteria. It is one to be considered. Working on the 5 factors and 10 to 15 second delay. Try the 10 to 15 second delay part, really. You know, it always, your elders will tell you, if you're getting angry, take a sip of water. You know, just walk outside the room. And it really does wonder. When you come back, you're a changed person. You're thinking more logically. But if you stay there in that environment, you will act emotionally, and then you will be regretting, why did I do what I did? And even if you're regretting what you did at the end, that is self-awareness, because you'll find a lot of people who will not even regret how they acted or how they showed their emotions. They'll feel that it is the right way of doing it. But if you feel inside of you that it is that what I did was not right, or the way I acted was not right, that is a good step. That is a good step towards change and improvement, because that's a step towards self-awareness and knowing yourself. Because then next time you will try to be better, you will try to delay that, and the practice makes perfect. The tools that you can use, Bilal, you can, as I said, I can share it with you in the WhatsApp group as well. But I've shared this small survey here with you. If you can fill this survey as well, we can then start the discussion on emotional intelligence as well. So there are a number of surveys which are longer surveys. As I said, I can share it in the group. The surveys which have been designed, and otherwise on this survey that you can fill that I've shown here on the screen, that will just take like around 1 minute, and that will be a first step towards getting there. Because remember that emotional intelligence is more than I mean, it's not only for the workplace, it's also for the personal side that we are living. Our families, it's very important. It's not that I show my emotional intelligence only at work, I don't show it at family. Can't be like that. I can't switch between the personalities. Emotional intelligence will become a habit, and it will also make me a good husband, a good father, a good son, or a good daughter, a good mother, or a good wife. And of course, it will help me overall. The best thing about emotional intelligence is that it will give you peace of mind. If you're motivated by the success of others, if I don't have envy or jealousy inside of me, if I think of others in a way that they can think of me, I mean, if I want to think of me that way, then it will give me my peace of mind. Otherwise, anger is never good if it is used in a negative way. Thus, emotional intelligence means always remaining calm. Emotional intelligence means always remain calm. Calmness is very important, Junaid, but it does not mean that I become numb and I just don't do anything about the situation at hand, right? I have to be reactive, I have to be active, and I have to take the actions. But by screaming or by pressuring or by pushing others, it will not help me. It is if I use my logical side, you'll be amazed that even at anger time, your mind will work in a very productive way and you'll be able to bring very good ideas. So similarly, thank you, Abdullah. You have shared, I think you shared the book here for emotional intelligence. That's great. So we can share it in the WhatsApp group as well. I like 5 emotion factors and self-reflection slides. Okay, thank you so much. So if you have any questions as well, we still have time to take your questions. I will really welcome you to fill this survey, and we can have a discussion. My number is also here. My email address is here. You can get in touch with me. And as I said, the first step is towards self-awareness and getting to know. It is very important. You will see if you go back in your organizations and if you look in your environment and society also, the people who are most loved, the people who are most respected, the people for whom the people are willing to, do a lot of things are the people who show respect and the people who are more connected with the masses. It is not the people who are more arrogant or more, I mean, they can get the things done because using their authority, but the charm is, or the magic is, that you don't use your authority and still people are ready to do things for you. And that is your success. So if you have further questions, we can take that. Otherwise, I'll open the WhatsApp group as well, and we can take questions there also. What if the spontaneous reaction is what is in fact the better response to the situation? That is, emotional response is better than the delayed one. When I talk about delayed, Saad, it's only 10 to 15 seconds, right? It's only 10 to 15 seconds. Like, for example, if you get angry, take a sip of water, sit down, and then talk, and you will see a different response coming from you. You will see a different response coming from you. And yes, of course, you have to work spontaneously sometimes. If somebody brings you a decision that you have to take, you can't tell them, okay, I have to wait for like around 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll get back to you. No, you have to be spontaneous, but somebody will take that file and flip it in the air, and the other person will take that file, tell the person to sit down, take a drink of water, and then talk to you. How can we avoid workplace politics and bullying? Yeah, that's a good question. If you're more emotionally intelligent, there will be very less politics or bullying, of course, but we have to be more patient. We have to be more focused towards our own vision. Don't let the people who are playing politics or people who are bullying bring you down from your vision. That is what I always tell people. Do not let the external forces affect you. Do not let the external forces affect you in a negative way, that you give up your vision. So it is, you are hurting yourself, and just take it, because it is a reality of life. It is not only at workplace, it is in our society. Bullying is there, politics is there, but be focused on your vision. Be a nice person yourself, and you will always see the results of that coming to you. People will be there to help you. You will always have good friends, and you will see that things will happen for you and relationships will work for you. But do not let your vision be down because of some external factors. So if you have further questions, we can take, or comments, and you're welcome. You're welcome. And if you have any further questions, again, on the WhatsApp group, you can put it there. Again, it's a long topic, but there is no training that will make me more emotionally intelligent. It is only my self-awareness. And at the end of the day, I'll end with just one suggestion, self-accountability. Make this a habit, that when you're going to bed at night, just sit down for 5 minutes and think to yourself from morning till night, how did I react today? How did I do today with my colleagues, with my family, with my kids, with my parents, with my husband or wife, with my friends, with my neighbors? Did I do something wrong? And if I did something wrong, then talk to yourself that the best thing is that I'll apologize to that person tomorrow, and that will make me feel better. And the other thing is also that next time I'm going to react in this way, and assess yourself. Maybe make notes of that when I get angry, I act this way, and I should not do this. This kind of environment makes me angry. Like, for example, if you talk about me, when I'm working in hastiness, or if I'm working under tight times, I tend to get frustrated. So for me, the lesson is that when there are tight times and the timeline, I have very less time, I should not make any decisions at that time. I should just wait and think about it later. So just sit down at the end of the day and talk to yourself that what did I do right today? Even if it was, not talking to your children in the right way. There's no harm in apologizing to the younger ones as well. But knowing that I did this, and next time I'm going to do it in a better way. And that next time might not be better also. Try it the next time, try it again, try again, and it will become better. And that is why continuous follow-up in this is very important. So with this suggestion, if you have no further questions, I would like to thank you so much for taking out your time on a precious Saturday on a weekend, and for listening to my notes and to my presentation. And we will come to you with more workshops, inshallah. And I really hope that this was beneficial, this was useful. If you would like to further discuss, you can fill the survey, you can message me on the WhatsApp, and we can get in touch with you. Thank you so much. And sometimes our workplace pressure pushes us to be bitter at home. Very right. So here, my trigger is the workplace pressure. My trigger is the workplace pressure. So when I leave my workplace, I sit down in my car. Well, I'm not in my car right now. These days, I'm working from home. So before I leave that room, my computer, I should cool down and tell myself, today was not a good day at work. Today, I did not feel well, but I'm not going to take it out on my spouse or my parents or my children. And take a deep breath and then go out of the room. Just don't step out of the room immediately listening after from a lecture from your boss or somebody, your manager. Take your time, because this is the trigger. This is trigger that you have, that I know that I have pressure at work. I'll go and take it out on my child. So talk to yourself that I'm under pressure right now, but I'm not going to do it with my son or my daughter, and I'm not going to make them feel bad about it. Thank you so much. So thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. And if you have further comments, we can get back to you on that. And it was amazing to have such an amazing audience. And join the WhatsApp. We'll keep sharing more workshops there. And if you have any further comments, you can put it there as well. It happens with me that I want to be the last one finishing the argument. Is it bad? Okay. So, well, Junaid, let me tell you a hadith that I know, that the Prophet ﷺ promised house in paradise for a person who leaves an argument even if he feels he is right. So I think that might give you an answer to that. So there's a reward for a person as paradise for a person who gives up argument even if that person is on the right. Right? So just give up the argument. It's not gonna mentally help you at all. Okay? Thank you so much for your time. If you have any other comments, I'll wait for a few seconds. Otherwise, I can stop. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Thank you so much.